How's it going, guys? Welcome back to That's Real Life, and today's episode is called Don't Be That Guy. And the reason why it's called that is, I don't know how many of you have had moments where you were definitely the most hated person in a room, but as you can imagine, because I'm specifically saying this, that's what the story's about. Me clearly being the most hated person in an entire group of people. When I was 20 years old, I had my first knee injury, and I was flying down to NC State to visit one of my cousins. Now, before I went, I told my aunt that my knee hurt to stand still for a long time, and I really didn't want to wait in the line to get on the airplane. She told me there's a thing called pre-boarding, where if you just tell the flight attendant that you want to pre-board, they'll let you go on the plane before everyone else gets called in. So I'm like, wow, that's perfect. I don't have to stand, and I get to skip the line. So on the way down, I did this in the first airport and in the second one with no problems. I go from NC State, and I fly into Washington, D.C., so it's the last leg of my trip. And I go up to the flight attendant and I say, you know, I've done this before, can I pre-board because I have a knee injury and I'd really appreciate it. She's like, yeah, sure. We just need to send you down to the holding tank with the other pre-boarders. And I was like, okay, like I didn't really understand what that meant. But they brought me down and they put me in this room with just this couple that were in like their mid-90s, like so old they could barely walk. And I'm really confused what this is. Now, I completely forgot that the Washington airport uses giant buses to shuttle people from the terminal into their plane rather than them just walking from the terminal directly. Now, because they used buses and they assumed anyone that was using pre-boarding was probably handicapped or disabled in some way, they had a special one designed that would do it in a group. So they would wait until there was enough people who were pre-boarding and send them in one bus to all the different planes. So I don't really know what's going on, but I'm sitting down there waiting, kind of confused, and I feel awkward and out of place because I'm young and healthy looking. I'm not even on crutches, and I'm sitting next to these people that can barely walk. So we get on our special bus, and after a very long time, and I knew our plane was supposed to board, you know, a couple minutes after I requested pre-boarding, we get shuttled out to our airplane. The old people first. They get dropped off, and then they go over to my airplane. And when we get to my airplane, everyone on the entire flight was crammed into two buses, and there was standing room only for some of these people, and they were stuck. They looked like little tiny sardines in a can, and they couldn't move because they were instructed, based on procedure, that the pre-boarder gets to go on first. So even though their buses got there before me, they had to wait stuck in this bus for me to get out. And then I get out, and I'm a young, healthy-looking guy who's not even on crutches, and I go in this plane, and I have to walk by the two buses of people, and my head's down in complete shame and embarrassment. So I get on my plane, on the plane, and I sit down, and all of these people who had to wait, and I mean, I'm not going to put a time figure on it, but it was a very significant amount of time, are walking by me one at one time each, every single one of them giving me death stares, guilt trips, and I just feel like the worst person ever. I feel like I shamed my family, and every single one of the people who gave me an intervention is giving me their dirty look as they leave. And it's just absolutely awful. And the worst part was I'm seeing like old people, one super old guy who walks by on a cane who sat in his normal bus and I didn't. And I had to sit on a plane with these people for the next hour and a half knowing that not only did I cause them to be stuck in that bus, but to make things even worse, there was a lot of planes leaving that day, and because they had to wait for me, we got stuck further behind the line of the planes that were taxiing to get out. So, not in an incredible way, but it did delay our flight as well. And I had to spend that hour and a half knowing I was the most hated person on the plane, and I was that guy. So, my advice, if you have an injury and you're pre-boarding, be very careful when you go into Washington, because you don't want to be like me and be the most hated person there, because that's real life. So guys, I hope you like this segment, and stay tuned for more, because as you can predict, there is an infinite number more of these to keep coming.